Well, cities up and down the California coast are grappling with a looming crisis tonight. How to deal with rising sea levels.
KPIX 5 Susie Steimle is in Pacifica, why thousands of property owners may be forced to retreat to protect the beaches.
The USGS predicts that by the year 2100, 600,000 homes along the California coast will be at risk of flooding. So the Coastal Commission wants to convince people to move away and allow nature to take its course. But homeowners say that's not going to work for them.
Our neighborhood is right over here.
Though he lives on the coast, Jeff Guillet has never worried about sea level rise.
From your understanding, it would just, the water would never reach.
Oh, no.
But last fall, all that changed when the city of Pacifica put out this draft of a local coastal plan that includes something called managed retreat. Homeowners and businesses could be moved away from the shore to give rising tides more room. Pacifica's plan reads, the city shall establish and pursue funding of a managed retreat program for voluntary removal, modification, or relocation of development when necessary. For Jeff, that means live here at your own risk.
We started researching it and it started looking more and more scary.
He says managed retreat could mean he would not be able to hold the city liable for any damage to his home in the event of a flood. And if he sells it, he would have to disclose that it's in a hazard zone.
So home values are going to drop.
Some of Jeff's neighbors have already given up.
Both houses on both sides of me have moved. One to Reno, and my neighbor next door just moved to Arizona. And partially because of this issue.
The California Coastal Commission wants every single community along the coast to develop a managed retreat plan if you're in the coastal zone. And here in Pacifica, the coastal zone means everything that's west of Highway 1. So all of these homes here out towards the ocean, and that includes Jeff Guillet's home, would no longer be protected.
The Coastal Commission's made it very clear that the city needed to evaluate managed retreat as an alternative.
But Pacifica City Manager Kevin Woodhouse says the city is trying to avoid that option.
The strategies recommended are basically seawalls and protections, barriers like that, and beach replenishment.
It may not be that simple though, because the city's local coastal plan has to be approved by the Coastal Commission, including senior engineer Lesley Ewing.
We can either let external forces take control over what's going on in California, we can start taking control of it to an extent ourselves.
She points out what happened in Pacifica after several El Nino winters just 3 years ago, when 30 feet of bluff, apartment buildings included, came tumbling down into the ocean.
That type of unmanaged retreat is something that I don't think anybody wants to see.
Ewing says seawalls will no longer be allowed to be built under managed retreat because they're only a temporary fix that accelerates beach loss. Many new developments and even major remodels in the coastal zone are already having to waive the right to armor the shore. But they're not doing it without a fight.
And certainly if you're a landowner who has a home along the beautiful coastline here in California, I think you would think that is quite drastic. In fact, you might even think it's unconstitutional.
Damian Schiff is a senior attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, a group that helps defend property rights along the coast.
One of the rights that is fundamental is the right to use and to protect one's private property.
His foundation is helping the city of Solana Beach and Marin County sue the Coastal Commission. Pacifica appears to be taking note.
Oftentimes things do get resolved in the courts, so that's one course of action.
But city manager Kevin Woodhouse acknowledges there may be some new zoning regulations, not for all of the coastal zone and not for Jeff, but possibly along the city's already defined hazard zone right along the bluff. Jeff is not reassured by that.
It still has the same effect as managed retreat, they're just not calling it that. It is our home, and it's just not fair that they should impose any sort of restrictions on us.
So last year, the city of Pacifica sent its sea level rise plan to the Coastal Commission. The Coastal Commission responded with some changes, and just recently, the city of Pacifica batted back with what it calls a compromise. So now the next move is up to the Coastal Commission. In Pacifica, Susie Steimle, KPIX 5.
Well, Pacifica isn't the only Bay Area city facing the sea level rise dilemma. San Francisco and Oakland are as well, of course, and we, of course, will keep following this issue.